Osbrillig, and the slithy toads, Tidgyre and Gimble in the wave, all mimsy where the borough grows, and the moon wraths outgrave. KRUI 89.7 FM, Iowa City's sound alternative.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to KRUI in Iowa City, 89.7 FM, and streaming online at krui.fm. My name is Justin Comer. The show is called iHearIC. It's a show celebrating music and other talents here in Iowa City. And I've got two guests on tonight. Can you guys talk into the mics real quick?
Hello. Yes, I hear myself. I hear you.
Hi, yeah.
Okay, I got the right mics. Good. Okay, would you like to introduce yourselves real quick?
All right. So, Will is making gestures saying that I should start. Hi, my name is Carlos Cotallo Solares. Wait.
No, you got it right. That's
No, I know. Yeah, the headphone was janky, so I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, okay.
You sound great, don't worry.
Yeah, so I'm a local composer. I'm doing my PhD at the University of Iowa, and I'm from Spain. That's why I have this accent. And I lived in Germany for a while, and I guess that's it.
Yeah, we can dig into more stuff as we go. Carlos is the other iHearIC host. This is his first time on the radio show with me, but this is mainly a concert series, and he and I have been doing this for a few years now. And our second guest is...
Hi, my name is Will Yager. I'm also a student at the university. This is the first year of my DMA in double bass performance. So I just moved to Iowa this past August.
Yeah, so you've been here for like 6 months now.
Yeah.
How you liking it?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's much cooler than I expected, which is not an indictment of Iowa City. I didn't actually think about the city itself at all. I just sort of visited the school, and it was actually on the drive up here. I came with a friend who was, well, have you looked what's going on in Iowa? Have you seen what cool? I'm like, I have no idea.
Not at all.
I found a place to live, and I guess we'll find out. So it's been pretty cool so far.
Yeah. All right. So I don't really prepare for interviews. This is only the second time I've had anyone in the studio with me. I had Christine Burke on a few weeks ago. This is the 10th episode of iHearIC Radio, by the way.
Ooh, yeah.
This is a milestone. We're in the double digits. Yeah, so I don't prepare anything. This is a really I was going to say unprofessional, but what I mean is unstructured conversation between the three of us. Yeah, so let's start with how we started playing music as individuals.
Oh, okay, so, not together.
Not together. That's not that interesting, but we will get to that. All right, so Carlos, you're from Spain.
Yeah.
So how'd you get started?
I'm from Spain. So I started playing violin when I was 6. I guess there was always a lot of music in my house. My dad plays guitar and harmonica and stuff like that. And my mom really likes classical music. So, yeah, I was kind of getting both, like Mozart and Led Zeppelin and stuff like that.
What was the second thing you said?
Led Zeppelin.
Oh, Led Zeppelin.
So. And, yeah, and I mean, in Spain, the music school system is like state-funded. So, yeah, so while I was doing primary school and high school, I was going to School of Music in the evenings. And then eventually I decided I wanted to study composition. So at first my plan was to do it in Spain, but I ended up going to Germany. So I did my bachelor's in Freiburg, which is near Switzerland. And then I did my master's in Berlin. And then by various circumstances, I ended up coming here for my PhD. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, I don't play much violin now. So now mainly if I play anything is guitar and bass, either in rock or in noise improvisation context, I guess.
Yeah. If you are a regular listener to this program, you've heard some of that in the past. A few weeks ago, I played some stuff by the band Wombat, which is the three of us.
A great band.
Yeah. So let's hear Will's backstory. Where did you start playing music?
I started somewhat late. I didn't really have, aside from an aunt of mine, anybody else in my family that was a musician. Not to say that music wasn't around, but it was. I don't recall as a child ever thinking it was something that I could do. Just didn't occur to me. But when I was about 15, I had a friend that played guitar and a friend that played drums. And so naturally, I decided that I should play bass. So,
Yeah, you had to fill a role.
Yeah, exactly. I had to be of use. Like Carlos, Led Zeppelin played a very important role as being quickly my favorite band.
Oh yeah.
So I was playing bass guitar, like really into Led Zeppelin and Metallica, stuff like that. But I also really quickly and just really liked playing the bass. So I was, trying to find out like who good bass players were and stuff like that, which led me to like Victor Wooten.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
The Fleck and the Flecktones. That was a big deal.
We were talking about them before we started recording.
Oh yeah. And the friends that I started playing with, we maybe played together like a few times. There was never really a band, but
Informal.
That's right. We never played a gig or anything like that. Not even like a crappy like house show or anything. I love house shows. I'm sorry.
Hey, it's okay. We play lots of crappy gigs. Crappy gigs are my bread and butter.
Oh yeah, the lifeblood. So I was just like really into playing bass. So I learned most of like Victor Wooten's first like solo record, just doing all this like two-handed tap things that like nobody.
That is actually like a really tough place to start.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I was into. Like I hadn't played bass with people, but I was doing this solo bass stuff. So I was just really interested in playing, and that kind of at some point led to, and then like Jaco Pastorius, and sort of found my way to jazz from that, and I became very interested in jazz, and that's when I wanted to play the double bass. So like I saved money for a couple of years and finally bought one like right before I finished high school, and I went to school for it and all that.
Right. So you weren't really playing the upright bass until college.
Yeah, I went to like a small school like where I just kind of showed up and was like, I'm a music major.
Yeah.
And they were like, cool. I did not. There's no audition I could have passed. I've been playing like for like 3 months.
Nice. Yeah.
So in a sense, because of sort of late start to all, because I didn't have orchestra or anything in high school. I played trumpet in band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't think we said where you're from. You were from...
Oh, yeah. I grew up in East Tennessee.
Yeah, so around Knoxville.
Yeah, so
I don't know the actual name of the small town where you say you're from.
I just tell people Knoxville.
Yeah.
I'm originally from Harriman.
Okay. I think you have told me that before, but it's hard to remember.
It's a real city on a hill.
Mm-hmm.
Beacon.
Yeah.
So I ultimately did my master's at University of Tennessee in Knoxville. So in a way, I just feel like I've just been like trying to catch up and learn how to play.
Nice. Well, you've been really active the past few months that you've lived here, so I think you're doing a good job.
Cool.
I've seen you playing jazz gigs and stuff all the time, so yeah, you're keeping at it. So we both talked about Led Zeppelin. Have either of you read the book Hammer of the Gods?
No.
I know of it, but
Okay.
I have not read it.
Well, it's not that interesting if we haven't all read it. It's just like a biography thing about their heyday. Talks about the shark incident.
Oh, yeah.
You guys familiar with that?
I'm kind of.
Vaguely aware.
Yeah, I don't know that we should talk about it on the radio. Yeah. Okay. Well, I've got a lot of music from you guys that we can play. Maybe we can start with the improvisation that Carlos gave me.
All right.
The file was labeled bass improv.
Yes.
Do you have anything to say about this?
Yeah. So this was what year was this? It was like probably my first year in Berlin. So this might be like 5 years ago, something like that. And I just ran into this recording like a couple of days ago because I was like trying to sort things out in my computer, and Yeah, so this was me improvising with a 5-string bass and like a multi-effects unit. And the plan was actually that for a while, like every day I was going to record an improvisation. It only happened one day. But what I did was that I started improvising and I did one take. And then I just kind of like keep like doing kind of the same thing, but like doing it more and more the way I wanted it until, so this was probably like take like 21 or something. So yeah, I just kept kind of doing the same improvisation until I was happy with it. And yeah, so it's all just one take, just the bass and a bunch of effects. And yeah, and I was thinking today that like I would actually like to start doing this, maybe not every day.
Well, it sounds like kind of an involved process, so I don't blame you for not doing it every day.
No, but I mean,
if you were recording it that many times.
Yeah, but I have almost no recorded improvisations, so I think that would be a nice project to do.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, so let's hear it. This is Carlos improvising on a 5-string bass around 5 years ago. Let me start again. I didn't have the channel turned on the mixer. This is live radio, folks. Here we go. All right, that was Carlos Cotallo Solares improvising on the bass. Here's a public service announcement real quick.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to go hiking in Patagonia, ride camels in Morocco, eat sushi in Japan, or learn how to surf in Australia? Stop wondering. Take the first step towards immersing yourself in another culture by visiting the Office for Study Abroad. During the resource room walk-in hours from 9 to 5, you can meet with a peer advisor to start exploring the opportunities that are waiting for you. The University of Iowa sponsors over 140 study abroad programs scattered across nearly every continent, ranging from 1 week to 1 year. You can meet general education, major and minor requirements, or earn elective credit towards graduation. You could even combine study abroad with an internship or work abroad after graduation. For more information, come visit the Office for Study Abroad resource room in the University Capitol Center. That's in the old Capitol Mall on the first floor next to Beat the Bookstore. Study abroad. 10 years from now, what will you be glad you did?
Study abroad, everybody.
There you go.
It's probably the longest public service announcement I've ever heard on this.
Yeah, actually, when I was in Germany, somebody suggested that I should do an Erasmus semester to Spain, which would have been kind of hilarious, but I didn't.
Study abroad at your parents' house.
Yeah.
In 10 years, you'll be glad that you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very glad that I went to study abroad, actually.
Okay, so we did not really decide what we were going to talk about next. I've got some recordings of Will improvising on the bass as well. If you want to, we can make a direct comparison.
Can we take calls on this show? Have people call in and offer.
We can, but
constructive
I don't really
feedback?
know how to do it. At some point, we should plan a call-in show,
Or like a Twitter poll for whose bass improvisations are better.
That would be a lot easier to pull off. If you guys want to tweet us, it's at iHearIC, and you can use hashtag Carlos is better at the bass or hashtag Will is better at the bass, and we'll tally the votes.
I mean, I'm pretty convinced that Will is better at the bass. I'm very impressed that you could actually play the Victor Wood and stuff. I had no idea.
Yeah, that is like.
That was a.
And you were playing that
ago.
like within the first couple years of playing the instrument.
I had a lot of free time at that age.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, but I would argue that as bad as I am as a guitar player and as a bassist, I compensate by buying very nice pedals and making noises with them. So.
Yeah, experimenting, getting crazy. That's how I make up for my shortcomings on the saxophone. Is just learn how to do the weirdest things I can, and then
That's right.
And then when people see me play it, they're like, "Wow, I can't do that. I've never done that before," and that makes them think that I'm better than I am. Yeah.
The less context they have, the less they can judge you.
Right. That's a good way to think about it. Yeah. If you just like go as weird as you can with your music, and then, you know, there's no reference points anymore, so you can't be compared to anyone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the way to do it. We're giving everybody our inside scoops
Yeah,
here.
you stay
This is
on
how
the fringe. You're bulletproof.
This is how you fake it. Yeah, so let's actually just play one of those Will recordings here. I'm going to play the first one, if that's good.
Sure.
These are kind of untitled improvisations. I just have Roman numeral numbers attached to them.
If you want to tweet some titles,
Yeah, you can, again,
audience participation.
at iHearIC. Use hashtag, this is a good title for this one. Do you have any things to say before I play this?
Yeah, actually. So
Yeah.
these are some clips from a soon-to-be-released record.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this is myself and a good friend of mine from back home in Knoxville, Tennessee, Matt Nelson, who is also a great bassist. And so we had always wanted to do something together. So back home in Tennessee over the last couple of years, mostly Matt kind of spearheaded it, but me and a few other guys were sort of part of this. We tried to really make an effort to sort of carve out a scene for freely improvised music. So Matt and I curated house shows together for I guess only the last 2 years, and then Matt organized a monthly residency at one of the venues in Knoxville, the Pilot Light. So we'd always gotten together to play duos, and we'd done it live a few times. So when I was getting ready to leave town, this is something we had to do. We always had talked about cutting a record, so we finally did it a few months before I left. So we have the takes, and it's up to me to decide which ones I like the best. So like the reason it is still languishing is because of my not getting back to Matt and the other guys. So we have I think I picked some of the good ones to share tonight, but they're all Roman numerals, so who knows?
Right. I have 1, 2, 3, and 11. So this is number 1. I'm going to play it right now. Okay, so my verdict between the two bass improvisations, I'm going to say they can't be compared because they're completely different. However, Will's recording has double the bass because Matt Nelson is playing with you.
That's right.
So that
It's
gives
not
you.
really fair.
I think that gives you the edge because you have two basses in your recording.
But I have, well, first of all, I have 5 strings, so that should give me some advantage.
Oh, that's true. That's
And
true.
it's multi-effects.
But total, you have 8 strings.
Well,
I'm
but-
pointing at Will right now for the listeners. This is an audio medium.
I was using a lot of delay with a lot of feedback, so it could be argued that with every repetition, there's one more bass.
Oh,
Therefore, I
that
would
is good.
have almost infinite amount of basses.
But you don't remember how many delay pedals, right?
No, I think it was like 4 or something.
Okay,
but
4, and then each of those 4 pedals is
Like-
repeating like several times. So
So there you go.
it's the equivalent of having like
Like,
100 basses at least.
At least. The battle continues.
Yeah, I think we're going to need to take some input from the listeners now. So please tweet us at iHearIC. I have gotten 0 mentions so far. I'm going to need you to weigh in on this battle of the basses. Please. What time is it? We're going to get to the weather a little early, and then we can move on. So it's 7:30, which means on KRUI, it's time for me to tell you about the weather. Currently, the temperature is 7 degrees Fahrenheit, and it feels like -5 Fahrenheit. It's awful. Humidity is 57%. I don't know that matters. And the wind is moving at 8 miles per hour. It's very cold. Put on more clothes, please. But most of you are probably inside watching the Super Bowl, which the 3 of us are very excited about, which is why we're here recording at a radio studio.
this might also have something to do with why you're getting no Twitter comments.
Yeah, normally my Twitter will be exploding right now. We've got so many people listening to this show every week.
Live.
Except not last week because I didn't do the show last week.
I'll add a title to the next thing of mine you play. You can call it football.
Okay, so
see
that when we get to number 2, I will remember that's called football.
See if that excites any Twitter algorithms.
We'll distract people from the Super Bowl. So while we were listening to Will's recording, Carlos suggested that we talk about improvisation a little bit more in depth. Christine has tweeted us. Let me just... now I'm distracted by my phone on air. Yeah, so we can discuss sort of our backgrounds with improvisation. Like, do we have any sort of training on the subject? What do we think about when we improvise?
Yeah, I mean, I was curious with the one that we just heard. Is it completely improvised, or especially since you're 2 people and there's some very clear changes at some point, how much of that is planned or how much is it just reacting?
None of it.
Okay.
That was completely improvised. We definitely didn't plan anything. I don't think we did on that. Like I remember several takes in, we started sort of saying, well, let's maybe, think about a certain vibe, or like. But we never. There was nothing was written down, or we maybe said, well, we've done a lot of this. Let's maybe like not use this certain technique or sound or something because we've already done a lot of it. But that's about as far as any sort of preparations went for that particular thing. Of course, it's easier to do that with Matt since we've played together so much over the last couple of years. So even though it's like, I think this is maybe true of improvising in whatever context. You're still, even though I guess in free improvisation, you're probably people have a lot of different ideas about this, but you're maybe trying to run away from some of these things. But I think even if you're improvising, you're still dealing with certain contexts and idioms, depending on what style of music that you're playing. So I have a decent amount of training in jazz playing, which is certainly informed, how I think about improvisation. But that's obviously a very different approach compared to this. So when I'm doing this sort of thing, I'm actually trying to, in some ways, forget a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, avoiding your tropes, avoiding everything that you've played before.
Which, even in this kind of sort of free noise, whatever you want to call it, cliches and tropes still emerge.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of go through phases where a certain extended technique, like it's a new sound, so I'm really excited about it, so I'll use it a lot. And then like a week later, I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things that because I don't know, I don't like to have rules, but at least in that setting. But one of the things I like to think about is, can I hear what I'm about to play? Is not to say that something that you just do is invalid. Coming from a jazz standpoint, there's generally speaking an emphasis on not playing things that you can't hear, because then it's just sort of arbitrary.
Right. Like sometimes if you're listening to like a jazz piano solo, you can hear the pianist like humming the melody that they're about to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But so in like this style of improvisation, you are trying to do the opposite? Is that what you're saying?
No, I still want to hear what I'm doing.
You want to know sort of
obviously
what
I can't
doing.
really sing, what it sounds like when I'm rubbing a Super Ball mallet over the body of my instrument.
But you're imagining a sound before you play it. Yeah.
Which the more you do that, the more you sort of experience these things and can play these things, I think, honestly. But you also, it also becomes easier for cliches to emerge, certain tendencies, which I don't think I wouldn't say to sort of, always avoid those. But I don't want to. I just want to avoid doing things arbitrarily.
Mm-hmm.
So like I want to hear what I'm about to play, and I don't like to play if I can't hear what everybody else is doing. Which is why it's hard to find a good situation for this kind of music with more than a few people. Because if I can't hear everything that's happening around me, like how can I react in a way that's, unless you're going for a sort of like we're going to like ignore each other and play and then see what happens, then listen back to it later. But I think that's a different approach.
Yeah, it's interesting for me because, I kind of came to free improv, but I've never played jazz. So I don't have that training at all. And actually what you're describing about like trying to know how things are going to sound, I feel like when I do this kind of free improvisation, to me it's almost the opposite. In that especially since I'm using a lot of guitar pedals that are, and the ones that I feel like I end up using more are the ones that are more unpredictable. So I'm kind of excited about like turning the knobs and then turning on the pedal where I don't know exactly what it's going to do. And then me reacting to that, that's also part of the improvisation. Or like detuning the strings in some random way. So like I don't really know what the note is going to be when I press this or that fret. And then I just need to react to that and make it sound like it's not random. Like build some kind of context to that decision to make it valid. So which is not that different from what you're doing when you're playing with other people. You're also listening to what they're doing and then try to build some context around that.
Yeah, I guess you could. I'm sort of thinking about everything that I just said. And
yes, you were wrong. You were wrong.
I'll run it back. We can listen to the tape.
But you could like take what I said, I think, and it might sound like that I'm sort of against random occurrences, which is not. Because it's just not true. A lot of preparations that I'll do to the instrument are incredibly unpredictable. When I like weave something in the strings, I don't really know what it's going to do.
Right.
Or if just even in a more sort of standard playing approach, if I'm working with some sort of some harmonics or something, like certain partials are really unstable, and especially if I'm improvising where there's a little bit more abandon, stuff is not going to always quite happen, and sometimes that's the coolest stuff that is. So I love that part of it too. I don't know. Maybe so that I realize that there's a bit of a contradiction there, and not maybe that's just what I was talking about before is maybe closer to how I felt about things when I first started really playing this kind of music because of my more traditional background.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm slowly changing my mind.
No, and I mean, I think it would make sense that with your training, I mean, considering that you actually know how to play the bass and that I'm still kind of winging it with guitar, I feel like I try to find the things where it's not so obvious that I don't know what I'm doing because nobody knows what I'm doing in a way.
That makes sense. That's actually basically what we said before. Just be as weird as possible, and then no one has a reference point.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like in my case, I don't know how much of that tendency of trying to do things that I don't know exactly what they're going to sound is by choice, and how much is just by that's what I have to do. But at the same time, I mean, I guess, I would say that I probably play violin way better than I play guitar, and I don't feel very comfortable improvising with violin for some reason, because I feel like the proper technique and the proper skills, and
it's harder to get outside of your training on that instrument.
Yeah, I mean, although now it could be interesting because like I haven't really played violin for a couple of years, so maybe now it will be much more comfortable. I don't know. How do you feel? So Justin, how do you get into this, and like can you relate more to what Will is saying, or?
Well, I do have a bit of a jazz background, whereas Carlos does not. I keep pointing at people, which doesn't work on the radio.
I think the listeners can feel it.
Yeah, you can tell who I'm pointing at,
yes.
Right? Everyone?
They just have to pay the extra to see the YouTube live broadcast.
Yeah, we should set up like a website where people have to pay money. Yeah. I don't think we can do that using university assets. So I do have a bit of a jazz background, but I was never like particularly good at jazz improvisation. Like I'm not great at following chords, like changes. So I sort of reacted against that. So I'm a little bit more of like a stream of consciousness kind of improviser, which probably again pointed me more towards the experimental side, because I'd rather like find new stuff to do rather than like correctly play jazz. You know, like I don't want to practice is pretty much it. I mean, I love jazz, but like to play like traditional jazz or even like music that would be recognized as jazz, I'm just not very good at it. You know, and I'm not interested enough in it to get good at it. Yeah, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I'm also a little bit more on the like, I may not know what I'm about to play. Let's just try this combination of keys pressed down and see what happens. Or like, you've seen me do stuff like tap the metal hook of my neck strap against the bell of my saxophone and just stupid things like that.
Yeah. I mean, which sometimes are very nice because like I've seen you do things either by accident or like really you had no idea what it was going to sound, and then just look at each other and be like, oh, that was a really cool sound, and then you just keep doing it.
Hey, it worked. Yeah.
So, but I mean, in a way, then you're kind of like legitimizing the accident.
Right. Which actually is something that people told me when they were trying to teach me how to play jazz. Is like, if you make a mistake, just do it again, and then it seems like it's on purpose. Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting, because jazz is why I started being serious about music to begin with. So it's like a huge part of my musical identity. Yet it's not really what I'm interested in doing right now. So I have a very, very intense existential crisis that I'm currently working my way through by hitting my bass with mallets.
I will just like one note, like jazz is a lot bigger than I implied with what I was saying. Like there are jazz traditions, but there's also like a wide world of jazz where the stuff I said doesn't really apply.
Sure. So like even if like even though they're both very improvisatory, some of the stuff that we do, like the three of us together, or solo, or even just the way I happened to improvise on the gig that I had last week. They don't feel related to me in terms of like what part of my creative self am I sort of like honoring here. They're just different facets. So that's something that's always been kind of frustrating. And like for me, just all these different things that I do that don't really feel related to one another. Yet, they're still improvising. So
you're still like doing the same physical actions.
Yeah, and it's like there's got to be some way to find a more unified approach to playing. So that's so a lot of everything that we're talking about, I'm thinking about a lot right now because I've sort of my relationship with jazz music is complicated.
Huh. Yeah, but it's funny because actually, like, the two. So apart from when I'm playing with you guys, so yeah. By the way, for those of you who don't know, like the three of us, we do have a project called Wombat.
Yeah, it's Wombat. We've performed together, I believe, twice.
Yeah.
But probably more in the future after I'm not so busy with other stuff. We should set up some more gigs, I think.
But yeah, I feel like a lot of the times that I've improvised was actually in like rock metal bands that then also just had like that noise side.
Oh, we didn't even really talk about that you've played in metal bands.
Yeah.
Do we have any of those recordings?
I don't have them on my computer.
Oh, okay. No, that's okay. But yeah, like
people need to know, Carlos.
Yeah, pretty much like on every band that I've had, like many of the songs, half of it is just like some noise improvisation. So to me, there was not so much of a difference between like when we were just playing the song that was written and then when it goes into we're just doing whatever and listening to each other. Even though like of course the actions and how you're playing is completely different, but I feel like in a way the band situation and the playing it with the same people kind of makes it somehow more connected.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got to take a break real quick to hear Grant Spot, and when we come back, I'm going to give you a Twitter update.
Support for KRUI is provided by Little Village. Little Village is Iowa City's independent, community-supported news and culture publication. Little Village's event calendar connects readers with critical cultural opportunities. Through journalism, essays, and events, Little Village works to improve our community according to core values: affordability and access, economic and labor justice, environmental sustainability, racial justice, gender equity, quality healthcare, quality education, and critical culture. Little Village can be found in print editions at local businesses in Iowa City, as well as online at littlevillagemag.com.
Welcome back. This is iHearIC. If you're just tuning in, it's time for the Twitter update because I mentioned our Twitter like 10 times in the first half of the show. Christine Burke, who was a previous guest, has tweeted at me rather than at the iHearIC account. She said, "I won't choose a side in the Great Bass debate, but wanted to make sure you had a comment." so
Thank you, Christine.
She's just being nice. And I've got a couple of tweets at the iHearIC account.
Take a stand.
I've got two things from Paleo Nath.
Yeah, David
That's
Byer.
a friend of yours? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, David. Yeah, David and I share an office.
Oh, I've met David.
Yeah.
Okay, I know him. Yeah.
Hey, David.
Sorry, I don't know your Twitter name, but I'll follow you after the show. He says, "Beautiful music. I'm hoping we can hear Quadruple the Bass soon.
Ooh, nice.
Who cares about the Super Bowl?" And then after you brought up metal, he said, "Let's hear some metal."
Oh.
So we'll have to get that on the show at some point. We
I
don't
was
have it
saying some
ready
stuff.
tonight, but
Sorry, David.
at some point we will. And that has been the Twitter update. Thank you, everyone.
Although David confessed that there is a big breach in our possible friendship because he's a jazz and hip-hop guy and I'm neither of those.
You are anti-jazz and hip-hop? Is that what that means?
No, I'm fine with both. Especially the combination.
It's very generous of you. Thank you for being fine with them.
No, but like it was just never on my plate, really.
How nice of you to approve of jazz.
Yes,
and hip-hop.
yes.
So gracious.
I don't despise jazz or hip hop.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Close call there. I was worried.
Okay, so if we're planning on ending the show at 8, which is the usual plan, do we want to hear any more recordings?
Yes,
Sure.
but
I've got a really short one from Carlos called Speed.
oh yeah,
Would that be a good one to
that's a
play?
good one.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a fixed media. This is part of the 24/24 project. So every year we do this car marathon thing where you have 24 hours to write a piece, and then people have 24 hours to practice it. In this case, it was for dancers, so I just did a fixed media.
Right.
So that's what we're going to hear.
Yes. And real quick, I just want to shout out the 24+24 project was initiated by, I believe, Brian Pankrat and Jason Palomara, my first year studying here.
Oh.
I think it was the two of them, maybe more than just them, but
Maybe, I don't
but I gave them credit at least. Okay, so here's Speed, written by our friend Carlos. That was Speed, a fixed media piece by Carlos Cotallo Solares, who's here in the studio with us. We've determined we have time to play probably one more recording tonight. So, Will, this is going to be the improvisation labeled 2. And I think this is going to put you on top for the bass competition.
Oh, yeah.
There was a distinct lack of bass in Speed.
Sorry, what was the name of the second bassist that was playing on this?
Matt Nelson,
Matt Nelson. Okay,
who has
so
a solo record that you can buy from him.
nice.
Everybody should look him up.
yeah, that's Matt Nelson, spelled Matt Nelson, as
Yep.
you would expect.
And bass, not
Yeah.
Matt Nelson saxophone, even though he's great too.
All right, so here is number 2 from those guys. All right, that was number 2 by Will Yager and Matt Nelson. Did I say the name right?
Yeah.
It's Matt Nelson?
Yes.
Okay.
Did I thought you were talking about number 2.
Oh.
Yes, you said number 2.
That's
right.
not a real title. But again, if you have ideas for a title for the piece that was just played, please tweet at iHearIC, hashtag this would be a good title for this one. And then whatever your title is, the hashtag has to be there or I'm not going to read it. That's not true.
Well, we're almost done anyways. You're probably not going to read it.
Well, that's fine. Okay, so we've got a couple of minutes left. I'm going to plug some stuff real quick. As I mentioned, iHearIC is primarily a concert series, and we've got a few shows coming up. February 23rd, we'll be at the High Ground Cafe at 8 p.m. Carlos is solo hosting that one. I'm not going to be available.
Boo.
Sorry, buddy. So far, we have a couple of people lined up. I can tell you about Purchase will be playing at that one. He's an electronic musician in the area. And our friend Gabby Vanek, I believe, will be playing a solo set because Will told us he can't be there. She's a bassoonist and experiments with lots of electronic stuff. She's really cool. March 30th, we'll be at the Java House at 8 p.m. We've got Christian Kripe lined up for that one. He's repeat iHearIC guest, and Kaleidoscope, who are sort of like a funkish band.
I think
I don't remember the genre that they label
were
themselves
describing themselves as soul gaze, like soul music and shoegaze.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I listened to a lot of it.
Yeah, it's a duo. I think bass and voice, one person, and then the other person is playing guitar, and they have a bunch of backing tracks or something like that.
Yeah. And then April 20th, we'll be at High Ground again at 8 p.m. And then May 5th, we're still kind of working out the details on this one. That one's on a Saturday. It'll be sometime in the afternoon. We're looking at outdoor venues. I'll announce it on the show when we have all of the stuff lined up. Other unrelated plugs, I am playing saxophones and clarinets for Wild Party, a musical at Theater Cedar Rapids, which has one more weekend going. That'll be February 8th through 10th. So that's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week. I don't know, it's pretty good. The music is hard. It's the hardest show I've played for them so far. So come listen to me working harder than usual. And then later this month, there's a Dancers and Company performance, which has music by me and Jason Palomara, who is my frequent collaborator, who you've heard on the show before. That's, I think, 4 performances. Yeah, February 21st through the 24th. So we'll be playing that lots of times, lots of opportunities. And then on February 25th, there is a Center for New Music concert at Voxman, which Will Yager, who is here on the mic, will be performing bass at. And what's the name of the piece that you're playing on again?
So we're doing, I'm not playing on this, but we're doing Ligeti's Piano Concerto.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're also doing Kurtag's Rückblick.
And that's the one that you're playing?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a quartet.
Sweet. Okay, yeah, so that's all of the show plugs that I have. Do you guys have anything else you want to mention before we go?
No, I don't think so.
All right, I think we're set. We have a website. It's iHearIC.com. The bottom of that website has links to our Facebook page, Twitter account, YouTube page. The YouTube page has like hundreds of videos on it that you should watch. And I've been uploading these radio shows as a podcast, and there are links to the iTunes page, Google Play page, and a website that nobody really uses called Mixcloud. But
I today when I was listening to some parts of this show, I was actually using that one. I don't know why.
Well, it's really simple. Like you can embed the little player. That's pretty much why I did it, is because I can embed it on the iHearIC website.
Okay.
But it's it's a nice website.
I think I basically just like the logo, and maybe I thought it was SoundCloud for a moment based on the logo, so I just clicked on that one.
Yeah, it's another one of those cloud sites. Yeah, so here's a general plug for Mixcloud. It's a nice website. If you like what you heard tonight, check us out online. And I do this show most Sunday nights at 7 on KRUI, so tune in the future. These guys will be back at some point. We're talking about doing like a real Wombat performance on the radio, which will be really interesting, I'm sure. And I'm going to try to have more guests on too. All right, so good night, everybody. Thank you for listening.
You're listening to the University of Iowa's student-run radio, 89.7 FM.
Come on.
Where are we going now?
On the air!
That's right, on the air 24 hours a day. Your sound alternative, KRUI, Iowa City.